What's going on, everyone? If you like the videos I'm putting out on this channel, remember to hit that like button. And remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you get all my content right to your device every time I upload. And I thank you for your continued support. So let's talk about Funimation's 30th anniversary Dragon Ball Z Blu-ray release. Now, I was originally going to do a well-edited, like heavily edited deconstruction of the release and show you like comparison shots between, the Japanese releases and the older Funimation releases. I was going to do all that, but the video was already done by Anime AJ, and I feel like if I were to do a video, it would pretty much be the same thing that he already said, kind of breaking down the film quality and whatnot. So I will leave links to his video at the end of this one. If you have not watched his videos on this, you should, because it is a very detailed explanation of what it should look like versus what it's going to look like and what Funimation has done. But many of you have been asking me, Geekdom, what are your thoughts on the Funimation re-releases, and what, is this really for the hardcore fans? What can they do to improve on this release? Is it worth my money? So we're going to talk about that here on this video, and kind of go into detail about, like I said, is it really worth getting this set? Because people are kind of on the fence about it. It is a crowd-funded project. It is one that they expect people to sign up, and then they make a certain amount of signees, and they are going to produce it. But is it really worth all of that? Well, we'll talk about it here on this video. And joining me on this video is the man himself who produced those two other videos breaking down the film quality and everything. And we're going to talk about it here and kind of just have a discussion about it. Anime AJ, what's up? Welcome back.
What's up? Thank you. It's been a long time since I've been on here, and it's great to be back. Yeah, you're at Kamehacon, so of course I had to undercut you and steal your content. I mean, I wouldn't be a good YouTuber if I didn't do that. Let's be real.
Right? No, absolute truth on that. Thank you, by the way, because it's what people do. But you're wacky. No, but you actually produced it very similar to me. I think eventually I'm gonna do like a history of the home releases in depth, because there's boy, that's going to be a long one. We've had a long and complicated history of Funimation putting out the series various times, and we're not going to go over all of that here on this video, but
no, that would take so many hours. Oh my god. That would be
research, yeah.
So long.
Yeah, especially if you include Kai. But basically, here's the bottom line. Back in September, actually, before that, we found out that Toei is going to be remastering the series, first with the movies. And then I was told that there's going to be a new remaster for Dragon Ball Z coming out this year, 30th anniversary. Now, when I asked, I said, is it a new remaster, or is it just the same one, just re-released? And they said it's a new remaster. And then I said, is it from Toei? And they said yes. So it's okay. That was one person. I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get that beautiful actual remaster, the one that they did for the movies and for the Bardock and Trunks specials that are already kind of airing in Japan or in Japan. But instead, it's going to be Funimation apparently doing this, and they do have third generation, to my knowledge, quality footage, but they don't have the Toei masters. But that's not the problem here. It's more so the process. So, can you summarize it kind of in a simplified way why these Blu-ray sets are not as good as they should be, in your opinion? And I just want to say before you start that I have a lot of respect for the people behind the scenes at Funimation when it comes to production. Not, the actors. I'm not talking about the actors here. I'm talking about people who work at Funimation. Like, they do work hard. They are hard workers, but I don't think they understand what the fans really want, when it comes to this. So this video is hopefully going to explain to them and to others why this could be better than what they think.
Sure. So Dragon Ball, I think, as we all know, is a show, produced primarily, in the late 80s and early 90s. And so it's shot on film, and it's produced with, a 4:3 aspect ratio. So, like an old square TV, basically. That's how, the animation was storyboarded. That's how it's supposed to look. As a result of shooting on film, film has grain. There are different sizes of film as far as millimeter goes. So most movies are shot on 35 millimeter, and then you get like crazy IMAX stuff for like 70 millimeter. Dragon Ball was shot on 16 millimeter, which is very small format. It's very grainy, and essentially, it's hard to really simplify it. But let's just say the grain is the picture. And so when it comes to these remasters, what Funimation have done, and this is something that they've been doing for well over 10 years at this point, is that they've tried to sort of erase the fact that Dragon Ball is an old show and tried to modernize it. And what they've done in the past is they've actually cropped the full frame 4:3 aspect ratio down to a widescreen, which means you're missing the top and bottom of the image. And with that, they've also like blown out the colors to make them really saturated, and then also heavily removed the grain. When it comes to removing the grain, for the most part, depending on what tools you're using, you can do it fairly well. There will be some destruction here and there, but you most likely won't notice it. When it comes to Funimation's process of removing grain, they don't do a very good job at all, and in fact, they very, very heavily hurt the image. They make the line art look incredibly watery. It goes from being, a solid black color to, frankly, more of like a gray. It kind of starts to blend into the colors around it. Subtle details in the backgrounds get lost. And as far as, the actual backgrounds themselves, those are painted with intricate details, and yet they kind of all get smoothed over into this sort of very smeary watercolor look. And it's just not what the series is supposed to look like. And, with the older releases that are, a 69 and they're pushing it, we're making this a modern version of the series, that's not ideal for hardcore fans, but I can understand why they're doing it. Okay, fine. If you're going to do that, we don't like it, but, fine, whatever, we can just ignore it. The issue with this set is that it's the 30th anniversary, it's, 4:3, they're marketing it at hardcore fans, they're only making 6,000 copies in total, and yet they're also applying this same smeary, destructive image quality thing going on. So it's kind of a walking contradiction. And frankly, that's not really acceptable. And that's why I've been so vocal about it, and why a lot of people who are sort of in the know as far as video quality in general goes, and of course how Dragon Ball is supposed to look, are also very upset with this release.
Yeah, this is not what I was originally told or what we thought, because we know that Toei's working on Rio remasters. We've seen it. We have seen footage of this. They're doing the correct process. Do you think that the reason why Funimation is not taking those steps is because they don't have enough time? Not enough. I mean, obviously they have money. They're a successful company, but you would think that the crowdfunding would be like, okay, we're really going to put work into this like we did with level sets, but it appears that they're just going to use a very simple process that isn't going to help the image out. Like, what is the why? Like, why are they not actually really going in on this? What do you think?
So I think there are two possibilities. I think the first is that the level sets are incredibly expensive to produce. They hired an external company that is led by a guy called Steve Franco, who really knows what he's doing. And, the level sets have become such a loved and coveted release because they were done, for the most part, pretty damn well.
Yes.
With this release, $350 per set for 291 episodes is honestly not a bad price.
It's like what, $1 and some change per episode?
It's something like that. Yeah, it's pretty reasonable. So it's not necessarily like the most premium price ever. So I can understand on that part. If they just want to take a cheap option, they're basically taking what they in their heads considered remastered, giving it a 4:3 thing, which they sort of half know something about, and just throw it on the disc.
Right.
The second possibility rather, and I'm sure it's a combination of the two, is that, in their heads, they think that what makes their product sell is that look. And they base this off of the fact that, the orange bricks from 2007 sold really well. And of course, their season Blu-rays from 2015, I think it was, also sold really well. They were both degrained and had these like big poppy saturated colors that obviously the series is not supposed to look like. But because they sold well, Funimation's logic is, well, that's what sells. The truth of the matter is those sell because they're cheap and easily available, whereas the other releases that were 4:3 and had, authentic, accurate picture quality were either expensive, cancelled, or just aren't available for purchase anymore. So
don't forget too that another reason why they were high sellers because this was the first time we had all of Dragon Ball Z. And we're not going to go into the whole history, but the first couple of seasons were redubbed in 2004, 2005, but we didn't actually get all of the series start to finish until the Orange Bricks released officially. It was like the Ultimate Uncuts were on their way to completing that, but they didn't because they canceled that set too. So it's like we've got all these like canceled releases, and I'm happy they're putting everything on in one shot. but it's almost like all. I feel like the only difference between these Blu-rays and the ones they already put out before, right? These. And by the way, just to clarify, we're talking about Z. This is nothing to do with Kai. Please don't ask any Kai questions here. This is just Z, the original cut. I feel like this is the same thing as the other Blu-rays, the season sets or whatever, except 4x3. Like, what differences are there except for that?
Honestly, not masses. I will give them one thing. They've sort of made an attempt to, make the colors less extreme. So it's not exactly one-to-one with the season sets, but 4:3. But, for all intents and purposes, it may as well be, because the results really are incredibly similar. The mentality there is the same, and it's kind of contradictory in a way. Like, I obviously made that first video, which, blew up and made people very aware of the issues. And then, in response, they made this blog post explaining things. And within that blog post, you can see that they're kind of fighting with their own mentality. And so at the start of the thing, they're saying, we want to present this in 4:3 because obviously we know hardcore fans want that, and this is the 30th anniversary, it's for the hardcore fans. But then they kind of contradict themselves later when they start to talk about the grain, and they go, well, based on the sales history, of previous releases, we've removed the grain because we think that's what should be.
But the problem is, in this case, it's not. You can't say sales because it's crowdfunded. You're gonna get the sales, dude, because they're not even gonna start production until they have the crowdfunding thing, right? So if you're gonna crowdfund, you've already got people who are telling you we're gonna buy this, And if they had, I feel like if they had charged even $450, let's say, for the same series but done with the actual proper outsourced remaster, they would have still hit their goal. I think there are enough hardcore Dragon Ball fans that would pay for the real remaster. We're talking about like the deluxe editions that I've wanted for so many years. But is it just like they just want to save money by not outsourcing?
I really don't know. I honestly can't tell if it's like, it feels that way. Like it's frustrating because yes, you can tell for 100% that they're aware of what they're doing, because they flip-flop back and forth on like how they advertise their sets. Like when it comes to what's hilarious to me is like when they were advertising the 16:9 sets in 2015, they were like, well,
the way it was meant to be seen.
Right.
Yeah,
so like
right.
They like push that, and they're like, well, we've cropped it to widescreen, but that means you get more at the sides. But then with this release, they're like, well, now you get the 4:3 image, which means in our past releases you were missing parts, and so you get the full image as it was meant to be seen here on Japanese TV. And it's like, you're so transparent in how you're changing, your narrative as far as this marketing goes. So it's not possible for me to say that this is ignorance on their part. I feel like they know what they're doing, but they're just not. They're not reading the room, to put it simply. I think. I think, not to toot my own horn, but like with how much those videos blew up and how much they were, well received and people understood what I was saying and agreeing with it, and that's totaling to something like 800,000 views now. You have missed the point by a mile. Imagine if I'm making those videos and I'm saying they've finally done it, they finally listened, they finally put out what we've wanted for decades.
Oh,
now.
they would have sold so many more.
They would have blown through that.
They know we helped. I mean, they know we helped them out, dude. YouTubers, creators, when we promote stuff, we're helping them out, and we're not being paid to do it either. Funimation has never written me a check or you a check, bro. And you're right. Like if they had put out what we wanted, dude, I would be making videos constantly without even being paid, saying, "Guys, you got to get this set because this is the definitive collection."
Absolutely. Like, without a doubt, I would have made a video going, forget the sins of the past. They've fucking done it. They've actually listened. Yes. So, it's just frustrating. And I guess in many ways, it's also kind of hard to convey how frustrating it is, because I suppose, with Super coming out, you also have a lot of new fans. You have a lot of fans who grew up with Kai. This is something that's been going on for over 20 years. Like, it's...
Even before Kai was even out.
Yeah,
way before.
They've been fucking around. Sorry, I shouldn't swear in this video, but we've been screwing around with. They've been screwing around with Dragon Ball video quality for an incredibly long time, and they keep trying to sort of. I'm going to use a phrase that I guess people have heard before, which is weaponizing fandom against us. Which is, I know that sounds extreme, but it's like I was saying, like it's taking things that they know we want, and we've been saying they want, ignoring them for a bit, and then coming out later with another release going, hey, remember that thing we kept from you? Well, here's that. That's the selling point now. And that's exactly what's happening with this set. And, you know, it honestly would not surprise me if they go through this, if in like 5-10 more years they come out and go, well, now here's a 4.3 release with grain, because that's just how things have been working now for so long. And it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting. It shouldn't
It really
be this
is.
hard.
And it's a Dragon Ball problem because other shows don't have this problem.
Yeah, that's also frustrating. Dragon Ball is the exception in this case. They don't do this with other shows. It's bizarre.
And also, I think it's also because Dragon Ball is very polarizing, because you're right, a big subsection of the fans don't care. A lot of fans are going to buy this set because, A, they're collectors, and I've said in the past, even though you don't agree with me, that if you're a collector, you're going to get it anyway, so, and B, because they can't afford the Dragon boxes, they want a proper Blu-ray release, they want it to be 4.3, so they're just going to buy it because this is going to be their way to watch the series. What's going to happen with them if they put out another release later, and then, well, we wasted our money? I mean, there were so many people that bought the Ultimate Uncut, and they didn't even finish the first box set. If you buy the Ultimate Uncut box set, there's a missing, it's actually kind of funny, there is a missing, like, hole in your box because that last DVD for the Vegeta Saga never came out. Like, that's insane. That's crazy that there's incomplete sets out there. And don't even get me started on Ninja Turtles. That's actually another one that, Turtles, don't even get me started on that. That's a different show altogether. But also, we got to talk about this. The original broadcast audio.
Sure.
Yes, it leaked. Yes, I know people that are close to Funimation have it, but they have to get permission from Toei to use it. So we might not even get that on this release.
Right, so that's the thing. Like, I think people have to keep their expectations in check a little bit when it comes to their sort of idea of a perfect release. Because in terms of what would be the ideal release would be a perfectly color-corrected 4.3 release with grain from Toei's original masters, with the original, next episode previews in there, the original Japanese title cards.
The original next episode preview Japanese, and I want the movie trailers, and I want it all, bro.
Yeah.
I want interviews with Nozawa. Like, why can't
exactly.
we get a real, like, why? I want Toriyama, like, I want something, like, a real, like, this is for the fans. I'm
right,
sorry,
exactly.
I didn't interrupt
No,
you,
that's fine. It's like, I agree.
want.
It's like all of that plus broadcast studio. Like, to many people, that's like the ideal thing. That's a fucking lot of work and a lot of money.
You said you weren't going to curse.
Sorry.
And then you cursed again.
I'm so bad. It's the British in me. We're so used to swearing. I'm sorry.
You are so angry at this.
Dude.
It's funny.
Demonetized, I'm sorry. Sure. So, oh man, I've totally lost my train of thought. Expectations.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So, people do want that stuff. And I don't think Funimation will ever do that because that's just not possible for them. That's something on
Toei
Toei's
would have
side.
Toei would have to get really involved, and that's not happening.
Yeah. So when it comes to this Funimation release, all they really need to do is take the masters, and this was the worst part, was that they showed their masters untouched and put their remaster next to it, and it was like a kick in the face. It was like dangling, here's what you want, you can't have it.
They showed what they actually have, and I saw that. I remember you linked me to that post, and I'm like, wait a minute, their masters look this good?
Right.
I've been fooled for so many years. I'm like, and they're third generation. Toei's got the real good ones in their vault somewhere in Japan. And I'm just like, man, Disney overprices their Blu-rays, but they always try to, like, even though they did crop Snow White and other old movies, you know what? I changed my mind. Dragon Ball is not the only thing that deals with this, but it is the one that we talk about.
They redrew parts of Cinderella for their Blu-ray. Disney do some strange things.
Yeah, but you know what? I respect the work, though. I respect the work they put in. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like, basically, the point we're trying to make is, for a 30th anniversary set, it could have been like up here, and instead it's more so like I don't think it's a horrible release or anything. It's just that I feel like it could be so much better,
Yeah, like,
in my opinion.
Yeah, like I was basically trying to sort of say the same thing, where it's kind of like, we saw what their untouched masters look like, and we've seen what would have taken a lot of work, which is to fix up these colors and manually crop everything and all that kind of stuff in the after images, which objectively look so much worse. What they could have done, if they didn't want to spend money on a level set tier remaster, is literally to just crop away the borders, because they have rounded edges on the edge of the film. That's totally standard.
I noticed the rounded edges too, and I was very surprised at seeing that they actually had that. I was surprised.
Yeah, so it would literally be a case, crop the edges down and throw it on a disc. Like, you don't need to degrain that stuff. You don't need to start fucking around with the colors, screwing around
or
with
maybe
all of
they
the colors.
or maybe they could just re-release the Dragon boxes. I mean,
You know,
that's
all
another
that. Like
thing.
there are so many options that wouldn't
Yeah,
cost as much or take as much work as what they've done here, which has resulted in an inferior product. And I think that's what makes it extra frustrating, is that they've gone out of their way to do work that makes it worse.
And what's gonna suck is eventually Toei is going to put out their remasters. It's gonna happen inevitably, and those are gonna be so much better than these.
Yeah, and
we're
can I go to bat for you a second, because I know that you've been getting shit because you were told obviously that Toei were going to be doing these remasters, and I feel like people have been incredibly unfair to you. I just want to take 30 seconds if you don't mind, because
Yeah.
so
Go ahead. Sure.
so think about it from your perspective and our perspective, which is Toei just released the movies, they've just released the specials. We're now hearing word the 30th, a full release is coming, and
Yes.
Danny's talking to a guy who's saying, "Well, we got it from Toei, and it's a new remaster." Logic dictates, oh, it's probably going to be Toei because they're doing what they're doing. It's not Danny's fault that this guy misunderstood that when it said when they said from Toei, they meant, oh, the stuff Toei gave us a million years ago. Like, that's be fair to Geekdom here, please, because I've seen so much drama, and it's really not fair.
But the problem is that Funimation's doing this. Toei knows Funimation's doing it because it was actually revealed in that magazine a couple months ago. But Toei's doing their own. So what's going to end up happening is you're going to have this superior Japanese Toei release that does not have subtitles on it, and it's going to come out. Some of us are going to buy it, and you know what's going to happen. People are going to rip it, they're going to sub it, and then we've got more piracy. Whereas I feel like if they put this set out correctly with the Japanese Next Episode previews and everything the Dragon Box had, I feel like there would be less of that, honestly. I never advocate I never advocate piracy at all, but I know what's going to happen because the community tends to do that, right? They've already done it with the movies. They're not subbed, but they got subbed online. It happens all the time. So I feel like it's going to suck for people if they buy this set and then there's a better one that comes out in Japan. Then we're like, well, damn, like, why can't we get this stuff? It's not really fair. It sucks. Being a Dragon Ball fan and trying to own the series legally is very frustrating sometimes, and I encourage people to support the official versions always. But you know what's going to happen? That's just the truth. Don't shoot the messenger.
I agree. And I think to speak to that a bit, there are people who have the collector's mentality about this 30th anniversary release, or they have this idea that, oh, if I don't get this now, I might not get something better in the future because there are only 6,000 copies. I feel like this is my advice, and you obviously don't have to take it. You're free, to spend your money how you like. In my head, I feel like the smartest way to send the message that you want something better is to not buy this. And if Toei come out with something that is better and acceptable, even if it doesn't have subs, buy that and show them that's how you do the release. And if after that it comes out online with subs, by all means use that. You've supported it, and you're taking an alternative method to be able to enjoy it, well aware that you've supported something great. To me, that's a much better way of showing your love of the fandom and supporting good things than just settling for this because you're scared you won't get better. To me, that's the best way to go about it. But again, spend your money how you like.
It's almost like if you buy, let's say you buy Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo, but you also download the emulator or the ROM. Like, you already supported it, and you just don't want to play because you're worried about, that's a bad example. Let's use a more modern game. Let's say like Metal Gear Solid or whatever. You buy Metal Gear Solid, but you don't want to scratch the disc, so instead you play it on ROMs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you bought the game, you already supported it, you gave the company your money, you just don't want to ruin the game. I kind of get that. It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes sense. So maybe someday Funimation will put up these episodes for download on iTunes, and that would be another option. They could digitally release this stuff, and we can just download it. Maybe they will do that at some point. But if it's crowdfunded, I feel like that's the whole thing. I feel like they should. It's like they know what the fans want, but they really don't know exactly what they want. And I worry because I don't want Funimation to think that the Dragon Ball fans are just, they're so picky and this and that. That's been the other thing. Like, they're so, that they want. But it's like, no, you actually have the capabilities of putting it out. So just, put it out. There's been so many releases. What about Dragon Ball? What about GT? Like, I want it all.
Yeah.
I want everything. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I will leave a link to AJ's 2 videos here in a moment. You'll see it on your screen. But thank you for being here. And like I said, guys, it's up to you as far as whether you want to own this thing. We know there's going to be a Toei version coming without subtitles. Also, if you're looking for the Falconer score, that's probably, no, not probably, it's not going to be on the Japanese Blu-rays. It's going to be on this one. So if you want that, I mean, it's going to be on there most likely. I've heard it is, but they haven't confirmed it. And the original Z dub will be on there too. So if you like that dub enough to pay this much for it, I mean, we can't tell them not to. It's really up to you though. You know, if you're budgeting, I say probably wait. But again, I don't know. It's a tough call. It really is. Do you have any final thoughts?
I feel like there's no better time to actually vote with your wallet, because this is, you know, like we've said, it's a crowdfunded set. At the moment, you know, they've only sold a little over their goal. They're not even close to the 6,000 they have. And if they don't come close to that, you've sent a message. And the fact is, you know, we're not being picky, because this is stuff that's been outlined constantly to them in very clear ways, both to their support emails on forums, Twitter, for decades, and they don't do it. So it's not being picky, it's just being very tired of being ignored, basically.
And it's not too late either. That's why AJ was saying to at them, not because you want to harass the company. Please don't harass the company.
No,
like I said, there's
don't.
good people. Yeah, there's good people that work there. I know a lot of folks are angry at Funimation right now for various reasons I'm not going to get into. I know what you're mad about, some of you guys. But don't be rude to them, and just kind of tell them, like, look, like, we appreciate this, but you have to understand we want what you can give us more and do it this way. Like, we understand you're listening, but there's still more that you have to listen to. And it's not too late, because to my knowledge, they haven't really started on these yet. I could be wrong, but they haven't really started to produce them. And if they have, it's very small. So I don't see why they don't just legit, you know, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But like I said, be polite, and, you know, maybe we can get the message across that we appreciate it, but we think that the 30th anniversary is way more special, and they could do this instead of this. But of course, make sure you watch Anime Age's videos to go into explicit detail about what's going on with this set and why he's so angry, and why fans are so angry. There is a good reason to be angry. Don't be rude, like I've said before, because people there work hard, and the production people there, the engineers, they're innocent parties here, but they should be aware. You know what I mean? That it can be done better. Do you agree?
I do agree. You know, I might be angry at my videos, but I'm yelling at the company. I'm not yelling at specific people. You know, just be polite. Don't, you know, go hound like Discord servers and staff Twitters. You know, if you want to get your message heard, you know, send the emails, tweet, you know, what have you. You know, there are good ways to get out there. My rage is more just, you know, an outlet of fandom and, you know, education than a direct message.
They've dangled the carrot. It's been so many years, you know, and Dragon Ball deserves all Dragon Ball. Z, GT, Super. They deserve to get the best possible home release that they can get. So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.